Welcome to the Elevate podcast. This series focuses on elevating and inspiring women and girls into or to remain in the tech sector from the classroom to the boardroom. I'm Kelly Kwarteng, founder and CEO of Helzac and host of the show.
Welcome to another episode of Elevate Women in Tech. I'm thrilled to be speaking to you today with not one, but three brilliant women behind the Brown Girl League, a community cultivating personal and professional growth for ambitious ethnic minority women in tech. Another interesting fact is that they all entered the tech world through apprenticeship programs and are here today to share their story. So let's meet these amazing women. First of all, we have Jaina Bala, a project management degree apprentice at Leonardo, Tara Saran, a senior management consultant at IBM, and Sonal Jain is a software engineer at Goldman Sachs. So in terms of us getting started, ladies, if it's okay with all of you, normally I introduce our guests, but as there's three of you and all of you have got an interesting background, it would be great for you to introduce yourselves and just give us a little bit more about your journey into tech and the careers that you hold today. Tara, would you like to go first?
So I have a bit of a whirlwind of a journey as to how I ended up at IBM. I actually did my first apprenticeship at a solicitor's firm, and I was a private client legal advisor. So I was responsible for countrywide mortgages as clients, creating their wills, estates and trusts, estate planning and trusts as well. And from there, I just realized, you know what, there are a lot of transferable skills that can go from kind of like legal advising into consulting. And to be honest, I didn't really know much about the tech world either, but just felt like the natural progression was the level 4 to IBM. So I applied for IBM, and 4 years on, I'm still here. I'm now working on public sector clients, doing digital transformation work. I've had a range of technical and non-technical roles. And yeah, so far, can't complain at all. Had a great time, and yeah, absolute pleasure to be with both Sonal and Jaina as well, to have now obviously started the Brown Girl League. I'll pass over to Sonal now.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Sonal Jain, and as Kelly introduced, I am a software engineer at Goldman Sachs. Having done my apprenticeships, I wasn't really sure what career path I wanted to go down. I went back and forth between going down the banking and finance route and going down the technology route. And having been back and forth quite a few times, I decided to pick computer science to study at university. And when I was applying to study computer science, I came across degree apprenticeship programs, and I thought the program that presented itself was the perfect opportunity to learn coding, learn those technical skills while having exposure to the financial markets, while working in an investment bank. And yeah, I thought having done a number of work experiences, I felt like I was ready to jump into the corporate space and just get started. So yeah, I successfully secured a place on the Goldman Sachs program, and I've been here for 3 years, entering my final year of the apprenticeship now. I've worked in a number of teams across the firm, and I currently sit in the credit sales and trading tech team, where I'm building out impactful projects for the sales and traders. That's a little bit about my journey to GF. Jaina?
Hello, I'm Jaina, and I am I'm now a third year project management degree apprentice actually. I just hit my 2nd year anniversary. So it feels incredible to actually be moving forward in the apprenticeship scheme and still be loving it. Thank you so much, Kelly, for having us on here as well. Just to echo the thanks from before, I joined my apprenticeship scheme straight after school, so after my A-levels, after receiving 4 A stars. So despite receiving all of my university offers and despite receiving incredible grades, I really thought that a degree apprenticeship was the best thing for me, and I'm so glad I did it because I have enjoyed every step of the way. So whilst I'm learning and I'm studying at the same time and I'm learning on the job, the amount of opportunities I have had as a degree apprenticeship are incredible in comparison to what I could potentially have achieved at university. So when I look back on it, a degree apprenticeship has definitely allowed me to excel further than I thought I could have in 2 years.
Wow. And I think, it's pretty amazing. All three of you have had such interesting careers, come from backgrounds. Tara being a legal advisor to a management consultant, senior management consultant today. Sonal, being on that computer science degree apprenticeship. All of you are working for huge companies. And Jaina, I think, perception of apprenticeships is that you go to an apprenticeship as another option. And I think you're just testament to show, 4 A-stars at A-level and then going down the apprenticeship route as opposed to university. I think would be a really interesting place for us to, I suppose, to dive into next. So, you all started out your journeys on apprenticeship programs versus the traditional go to university degree routes. So what benefits would you say that you found from taking this alternative training route? Because you get into the same outcome, you're all having degrees at the end of that, but you're having a much varied experience to probably the traditional routes that most people would take. So Jaina, if it's okay with you, I think this would be a great question to pass your way. So yeah, what benefits have you found from going down the apprenticeship degree route as opposed to the traditional degree route in university?
100%. I think the initial benefit I could say is that you are applying everything you learn as soon as you sort of learn it. So coincidentally, a lot of my placements, a lot of my modules do line up. So as I'm on a project management degree apprenticeship, I move around the business quite a lot. And I spend time in risk management, I spend time in finance, I spend time in all the different business functions. And it's a coincidence that all my my degree modules also line up. So when I'm learning about the theory behind scheduling, for example, I'm in a project management placement, I'm able to actually apply that knowledge directly into the work I'm doing. And even now when I move around to my different placements, I'm able to sort of reconnect with that knowledge I've learned previously. And by previously, it's only a month ago, a few weeks ago, and then apply that directly. So I've got this whole sort of picture of the sort of theoretical way to project manage a project and be able to apply that as well. And I also think when you come out of school, you are a completely different person to who you are a year into your apprenticeship, or 2 years into your apprenticeship, let alone who you are when you're finished. So Sonal, you're almost in your final year now, and the person you are now is going to be so different to the person that you were at 18 years old. And I think that development that I've experienced in myself anyway has been incredible. One of my managers came to me as well. He said, I've seen you from who you were on day one and who you are now, and it's a completely different person. So I think the fact that you've developed yourself so much as an individual on your apprenticeship scheme, whether that is how you speak, your confidence, your ability to make connections, your ability to be more responsible for the projects you're working on and having that direct impact into business, you are 100% a different person. And I think it's only for the better.
I think that's amazing. And like you said, it's that ability to take what you're learning and instantly put it into the real world. A traditional degree course, I did a traditional degree course at university, and it wasn't until I left and then a couple of years into the job that I had that some of the skills that I learned, I actually use. And then it's using skills that then are, a couple of years out of date, and I'm having to refresh myself on it. So it's great to hear that you're learning as you go, but it's that personal professional development as well, like you said, confidence and everything else. So
yeah,
what a fantastic way to kind of enter into the tech world. And another option for people to consider, being in that schooling environment is just not for everyone. And I think being in a work environment and getting that degree, I think is such a fantastic set of skills that can be achieved. Jobs that you're in today and the companies that you're working for. We always say within the women in tech, or even just any kind of industry, you can't be what you can't see. So it's that kind of, who was those role models? Who were those people that inspired you to step into that? And some people are fortunate to have fantastic role models. Other people, it's just not something that's available for them. So did any of you have any role models or mentors that inspired you to pursue these high profile apprenticeship schemes? And what empowered you to pursue tech careers? I'm going to throw that one over to you, Sonal, if that's okay.
The thing about role models, and you're completely right in saying what you can't see, you can't be. And I think when I got to know Tara and Jaina, we all stumbled across the fact that we actually bonded over the fact that we didn't have those Asian women, female leadership that we could look up to. And I think for me personally, I didn't know any brown Asian woman who was leading in the tech sector. So I didn't actually have any role models to follow. My mentors were, I did have a couple of Asian women mentors who were in other industries like finance or law, but there wasn't anyone in the tech space. And I think even going to uni, I can see not many ethnic minority girls in my cohort, which for some people may be demotivating. But what did empower me to pursue a tech career was that I always saw myself as a problem solver. I do think that tech is such a versatile sort of role and industry where you can completely delve into all the different aspects of it. There's multiple sort of paths that you can take within the tech space, and they all boil down to building these technical problem solving, logical thinking skills that I knew for someone like me, I really wanted to sharpen that toolkit of skills. And at the same time, looking at career prospects, the tech industry is rapidly evolving and it's continuously impacting all the other job sectors. And having an apprenticeship where you've worked in the tech space under your belt just puts you 4 years ahead of the game, I think, when you come out of that program. And for like I mentioned, I'm not really sure what I want to do in the future, but I know that building that problem solving skill set through a tech career will definitely give me the transferable skills that I need to explore my career options future down the line. So to sum up, I think for all three of us, I think we didn't really have those role models for us when we were jumping into our careers, and that's something we want to work on. And through the Brown Girl League, that is one of our sort of missions, to build that representation so that young girls coming into choosing their future career options have those role models to look up to.
Perfect. And I think, we're going to come on to Brown Girl League a little bit later on, because I think there's some amazing things that you ladies are doing. But I think what you said there, your career prospects after finishing your apprenticeship, 1,000,000% will put you 4 years ahead of anyone that's coming out of any computer science degree course or whatever course it is that they're coming out of. And, I think I wish it was something that was more readily available looking back when I was coming through, because I think it would have been something I would have loved and thrived to being. And there's more and more acceptance for the apprenticeship kind of pathway into careers and that training and learning. So it's great to hear your journey and kind of where you've come from. And
I'm going to be completely honest, and this is something that at IBM they're like, everyone's technical. I remember when I first joined, I was like, I'm just not technical. Like I really don't know much about IBM. I'm not too sure what they do. And then before I applied, like I researched a little bit, and they quoted the barcode and they sent the first man on the moon. And I'm still there like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And I was asked like, so how did you hear about IBM? And it must have been off one of the kind of like not going to uni websites. And I was like, to be honest, I shop a lot at Zara and I see like the IBM logo on the tills. So I think that's about as far as my interaction with IBM has gone. But at the time, the CEO, Ginny Rometty, had a very famous quote, which was that comfort and growth do not coexist. And I think just like Sonal and Jana as well, we're not shy of kind of, tackling things head on and being uncomfortable to gain that growth as well. So it was very much a case of, actually the technology world, I'm not a software engineer. I'm not going to sit and read code or anything like that. But you know what? I spend a lot of time on my phone. Surely that's technical enough. And I have an interest in it as well. Like I see kind of, what we're doing within like the health sector and how inspiring that is. Why would I not want to be a part of that? And when there are kind of like, things like the apprenticeship schemes and routes into it, which will give you that basic foundation and then allow you to decide where you want to go from there, why not? If we're being completely honest, especially with kind of like everything that's going on with AI, everything is technology focused. So it's no longer kind of a sector that's separate to everything else. It's a sector that's across absolutely everything. So when looking at whether or not to apply for a tech sector role specifically, I don't see why not at this point.
Perfect. And I love that quote, comfort and growth do not coexist. Was that the state? I love that. I've not heard that one before. So I'm going to use that in future episodes, I think. But it's so true.
One that I originally used in my interview. And even now when I go for promotion cases, I still use the same quote.
In terms for girls and women that are listening in, and they're probably sitting there, and you mentioned there yourself,
I'm not from a tech background. I always say I'm not technical, but I help people hire technical people. So I have a baseline understanding of what the technical roles do. Obviously, I use a phone, I use technology, so I am technical in a very small way, nothing like a coder, like you mentioned. But for women and girls that are sitting there that haven't had that opportunity to have role models, like you all mentioned, you didn't have that role model that worked in tech that inspired you. I must become a project manager or a software engineer. What doubts or concerns that they might be having today, thinking, right, the tech industry, wow, it's super scary. It is very male dominated. I just don't belong there. So what advice would you give to anybody that's sitting there feeling like that today, thinking, I'd love to explore it, but I just don't think I belong? I'm going to throw it open to all of you, if that's okay.
I think just to reiterate, as we've already mentioned as well, like the tech sector is so broad now. Everywhere is going to be incorporating technology. So it's one of those as well where it's like, if you don't see representation, then let's start to create representation there. Like there is also a bit of a duty on us to ensure that we are making sure that we're creating those pathways for individuals that look like us, that are from our communities and are from our backgrounds as well.
And just to add as well, I didn't have a tech background at all when I started working at Leonardo. I did my A-levels in English literature, psychology, geography, and I did EPQ in languages. And I think just having that passion, that fundamental fire inside of you to do it is enough for you to know you've got permission from yourself to go chase and go follow what you want to do.
I'll add, it can seem daunting at the start. I remember going into my first lecture, although it was during COVID, but my first in-person lecture at university, and it's just a room full of people, and I didn't feel like I fit in, to be completely honest. I did think that surely there are people, surely more people who are going to join computer science that look like me. But to be fair, it wasn't the case. And like Tara mentioned, it is our responsibility to encourage and motivate others who do have these sort of reservations about joining traditionally male-dominated industries. And the advice I would have for them is just to throw yourself in the deep end, and you will end up swimming. Like you feel it is all about mindset. I think that's something that we've all come to learn, is that nothing is too difficult, nothing is a huge problem. It's just your mindset about approaching it. So if you can treat it more as a way of, okay, I'm in this situation, what can I do in my current position when I'm surrounded by these people and I feel like I don't fit in? So what I did was I joined sort of Hindu society at my university. I joined sports societies. I joined dance societies. So I did try and put myself out there and connect with people, even if they weren't directly in my lecture room. But I did go out my way and find those people who I can connect with, because to be completely honest, that wasn't around me when I first joined. And you have to sort of be proactive in that role. But yeah, like we've said, we're working towards it. We're building that representation, and I think it's going to get better over the years.
And I'd completely agree with you. I think as that representation builds, we would hope that this is a topic that we just don't need to talk about in the future, and hopefully it's a future that's not too far away. If there's people like yourselves that are advocating to bring that sense of belonging for all, and I think it would be really a nice transition for us now to come away from kind of talking about the apprenticeship side of things that you've all been on, and for us to really talk about your Brown Girl League community. And obviously that is about building that sense of belonging and a sense that, you are where you need to be and you have a space in that room at that table, so to speak. So if you could, Sonal, I'm going to throw back to you. So please don't disappear on me. Can you give us a bit more information to the group around, what was the motivation behind launching the Brown Girl League, and why did the three of you feel that this community was really needed?
I think this is one of our favourite stories to share because it's a real testament to what we've created. So it actually started with me sending a cold message to Tara and Jaina saying, "Hey, I'm a tech apprentice at GS. I notice you guys are also apprentices in other sectors, and I'd seen them on LinkedIn commenting, and sort of they had a real presence. And I'm someone who gets motivated by people who are sort of on the same page, on like who are driven, who are ambitious, who are putting themselves out there and doing amazing things. And yeah, it started there. I dropped a message and said, "You guys sound amazing. Let's meet up for a coffee." And we ended up going to dinner. And from the get-go, we all hit it off. I think whether it was personal lives, professional lives, career development, friendships, we all had a similar foundation and a similar sort of drive in what we were trying to do. And I think that, yeah, we ended up talking for hours. I think we stayed out from lunch till like 10, 11 p.m. It was amazing to think about now. And that's sort of where the idea launched, because surely we realized that surely it can't only be us three that feel that there is a need to have a network of people where you can connect on multiple levels. I know we have people at work who we can go to for professional development. We have sort of friends and family who we can go to with personal things. We have sort of mentors outside of our work and personal lives who we talk to about sort of wider issues in society. But there's no one that we can really go to who understands all the pieces of the puzzle, right? And I found that when we first met up, we found that in each other. We could talk about anything and everything, and it was a very warm sort of feeling to have to be able to connect with people like that. And that's sort of where the idea stemmed from, to create the Brown Girl League. And we all knew that people in our circles who would really benefit from having a community where you have a similar background, you have a similar drive, you have similar professional goals, and just bringing all of that community together would really help us build a peer support network, essentially, where we can uplift one another, and sort of bring that representation into the corporate world too.
And that is truly amazing. And I think when I speak to women in tech and they talk about community and they felt like they didn't belong in certain kind of pools that they were in, and how the thing that they had to do was go and seek that community and find who it was that they belonged with. And it's amazing that the three of you had that initiative to start the Brown Girl League. And, you know, I'm excited to see where things go and how you're going to support other people that have felt the way that the three of you have felt. And hopefully, like we said, help to bridge that gap and encourage more into industries that maybe they feel that they didn't belong because they just didn't have that network or that support. So that's amazing. So for anyone that's listening and wants to know more about the Brown Girl League, we will be sharing how to connect with that a bit later on. In terms of the Brown Girl League in itself, when did you actually start? When did you come together? When did it start? And what's been your biggest reward so far from cultivating this network for ambitious ethnic minority women?
Great question. So we actually all got together in Feb. Jana, am I right in saying that we didn't actually post on LinkedIn until July?
Was correct.
Yeah,
Early July.
So end of July was when we were like, you know what, we'd been talking about it, and we had our plans and goals together. So we were like, let's just create a filler page for the time being. And then we posted, I don't even think we'd actually posted anything. And the traction was just insane. And then it didn't hit very long. And we're talking about end of July, and now we're nearly middle of September. And we've already hit over 1,300 followers on LinkedIn, which has been absolutely unreal. And we had our first ever in-person pre-launch event on Friday. And I think it's fair to say the three of us got quite teary at the end of it. Like, we all just kind of looked at each other, and like there were a few tears, by a few, I mean quite a few between us. And we were like, oh my God, we just did that. Like the feeling that the buzz that we had was absolutely insane. Like, I have never been in a room of over 20 ethnic minority women, all from different walks of life and all from different companies as well, together, just basically saying, "Oh my God, we needed this." Like, oh my God, this is what I've been missing. Like, I can't believe, and it is that case of like finding your tribe as well. And it was one of those where it's like, whenever someone would say that they felt a certain type of way, other people were like, "Oh my God, it's not just me." Like, that's a common feeling that you guys all have. And that was honestly such a highlight. Like we basically all got together. We tried to invite as many people as we possibly could, and within an hour we had to actually stop allowing people to sign up because we were oversubscribed already. And it was about building the foundations of the league as well. So it's how we're getting more ethnic minority women within the corporate space to join the Brown Girl League as well. So we spoke about our three different pillars, them being around career progression, personal development, and self-development as well. There we go. So the three pillars that we've got as well. And it was just really interesting because a lot of people had like really similar ideas to the ones that we'd had already. But yeah, definitely, I think the biggest highlight was just everyone getting together and feeling like home. I think that was a sentence that was used by so many people. Was just like, oh my gosh, we actually feel at home, and can't wait to just continue that feeling with more people as well.
That's amazing. And it's interesting, like you said, you know, that there was the three of you, you found a tribe in yourselves, and now these other women just from your pre-launch event. And it's insane that after an hour you had to close down the subscriptions for people to come along. I think it just shows you why what you're doing is so important, and it's going to be so impactful for everybody, really. So yeah, exciting times ahead by no means, and looking forward to seeing where things go. When we look at industry and we look at a lot of big industry, big corporations, you know, there's a lot of companies that talk a lot about diversity. You can go on lots of big FTSE companies and you will see that there's a lot of these are our kind of statements. This is what we mean. This is what we stand for in terms of diversity. However, the bridging the gap and moving the dial on diversity within organisations, you know, it does fall short of meaningful action. And, you know, the dial is moving ever so slowly, particularly if we just look at women in tech. And then if we look at women of colour in tech, that dial is even slower in its movement. So in your view, what do you think needs to change for women of colour to truly thrive in tech careers? And Jaina, if it's okay, can pass this one over to you.
Yeah, 100%. I think it comes down to sort of organisations getting involved. And that could be through creating those safe spaces, celebrating, but also having those difficult conversations. So at Leonardo, we have an ethnicity network, or an ethnicity inclusion network. And I have recently been appointed as the vice chair, which is so incredibly excited because I joined the network as soon as I started my apprenticeship, really, because I felt that gap. And I joined it and I found this community that I absolutely adore. And they're most incredible people. And I worked through being a comms lead and secretary, and I'm sort of appointed vice chair. And it's about having those difficult conversations. I've hosted sessions on microaggressions and how to deal with them in work, and we've created that safe space in person and virtually as well for those conversations to be had and those conversations to be spoken about and shone a light on, really, because it's about having them and making sure that after you have them, there is progress and change made. We identifying the problem and knowing that there are solutions and how to basically solve them. So as well, as I mentioned, also about celebrating. So celebrating South Asian Heritage Month, celebrating Black History Month, celebrating our heritage and the differences we have as individuals, but how they actually all bring us together and how they all contribute to this community we're also creating at work, because it's about, again, like I mentioned, creating that safe space and ensuring that every individual feels comfortable to be themselves whilst at work.
I love that. And super congratulations to you on getting that vice chair. I know last time we spoke a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, you were sharing kind of the work that you were doing at Leonardo. So it's amazing to hear that you've been moved into that vice chair position. So congratulations to you. And, you know, to echo some of the things that you mentioned there, it is about organisations getting involved. It has to be more than words on a piece of paper, words on a website. It has to be lived within those organisations. And I think the more that companies get involved and back up
And I think it's that saying of it's time to get comfortable being uncomfortable and having the conversations and, having that out there as this is where we're at as an organisation and this is where we want to be. I think the more we do that, the more we'll start to see real change. And then not the less that we have to talk about the topic, but it should just become hopefully an everyday that actually diversity in gender, for example, within tech is just not a thing. We're starting to close that gap, and it becomes it's just an opportunity for all. So I really like that. And so we're coming towards the end of the episode, so I'm going to throw this question out to all three of you, if that's okay. So given that you've all come from apprenticeship programs and you've been in that apprenticeship program set up within your organisations, how do you think programs like what you've all been on and what you're currently on now can help the tech industry to attract more diverse talent and really to help support closing that gender gap that exists today?
I think it isn't just about, so something that's super important to me as well is just about social mobility as well. And if we're being completely honest, apprenticeships is also to be fair, apprenticeships actually aren't as easy as I think people think they are to get now. They're actually more competitive than university offers are at this point because they are so heavily subscribed. And realistically speaking, at the end of your apprenticeship, you are getting the exact same degree as you would have gotten had have you gone to uni to do that degree. So had I gone to Manchester Met to do Chartered Business Management, I would be receiving the exact same qualification as I'm receiving now, but I'm actually doing it in a fast track. It's going to take me 2.5 years, and I'm going to gain experience along the way as well, and also no student debt either. So of course, kind of like when you weigh up the pros and cons, it's obvious, I think, which one most people are going to kind of go towards. So it is really a case as well of like apprenticeship schemes are also going to support individuals from different communities that maybe they don't have the opportunity to otherwise think about the corporate world. I mean, me personally, I'm from Derby, so the corporate world, especially like the London corporate world, wasn't something that was ever really made aware to me. I always thought I wanted to go to university and become a pharmacist, and that's it. So when you actually kind of see the different types of salaries and stuff that's available as well, that's the kind of things that we want to be going towards. They're the kind of things that we want to be making aware of, especially from individuals in our backgrounds, because brown women, statistically, brown women are those who actually donate the most and give the most back to their communities, but are also statistically paid the least amount of money as well. So it's just talking about kind of, like the socioeconomic kind of benefits as well of apprenticeships and different pathways into the corporate world as well.
I can add on to that. I completely agree with what Tara said there. I think your question around how can apprenticeships help attract more diverse talent, I think the fact that those who apply to an apprenticeship already understand what it takes to jump into works from the age of 18, right? And those individuals are already proactive because they don't have, well, they may also be applying to university at the same time, but applying to apprenticeships in themselves is something you have to take on independently alongside your sort of A-level studies or your sixth form during your sixth form time. So firstly, that those who are coming through an apprenticeship route are already going to be proactive, organized, they're going to be ambitious, they're going to be looking to throw themselves in the deep end from day one. And I think that's where you start to see that these characters are actually more diverse than those applying to university. I found out that across the apprentices at Goldman, at JP, at Morgan Stanley, sort of in our tech space, these apprentices are incredibly ambitious, incredibly diverse, incredibly driven. And I think across the board, those applying for apprenticeships have that innate sort of go-getter energy, which helps sort of tech industries who are moving at such a pace that these apprentices can actually keep up with, compared to there may be some university graduates who've just been doing their computer science degree at university. They've come into work, and corporates have selected them based on technical skills, but they may not be ready from day one to jump into the corporate world. So I think with an apprenticeship, you actually get the best of both worlds. You get the technical training, and you get those. You also get those people with those driven who are driven, ambitious, motivated, organized, and they've learned those skills during the apprenticeship. So coming out of that, they're well-rounded individuals.
And finally, I think it all comes down to creating opportunities. I once attended an event hosted by AFBE, the Association for Black and Ethnic Minority Engineers. And one quote that has stuck with me since 2021 was that talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. And I think those degree apprenticeships open that sort of floor for opportunity and for sort of women and ethnic minority individuals to understand that there are opportunities open for them to take that first step into the corporate world, and for them to sort of open the door for what God knows is the next steps of their career and what they can achieve as an individual.
And I'd agree with that. I think the apprenticeship route is it's a win-win on both sides, isn't it? It's a win for the employer that's bringing on
100%.
these highly ambitious people that want to go into work but still want to learn, and they want to have that best of both world type scenario for themselves. And I think you're right, it opens a door to those that from a social mobility point of view maybe can't afford to go to university. You know, it's not cheap. You come out with a lot of debt, and it can be quite an intense environment. So actually, you know, or they might just not have that physical support behind them to be able to kind of take them into the corporate worlds, and it gives that opportunity to be able to do something that they probably never thought was an option. So I think the more these apprenticeship programs come up, the more the industry is embracing them. I think the more that we're going to start to see some really fantastic talent that possibly never would have got through. You know, they haven't gone to those top 10 universities that sit across the UK, and they haven't got those top 10 degrees and everything else. That they've got just such a well-rounded set of skills that it really kind of adds to them, to industry, and to future innovation of our world that we live in. Like you mentioned, Sonal, tech moves at such a rapid pace. AI in itself, it's just changing the way in which everything is going to be in the future. And I think being at the heart of that, I think enables people to really thrive and support, and making sure that we have diversity at the bottom of that, and that talent that's coming through is diverse, and we have that diversity of thought, helps us then to have a much more well-rounded tech world and the world that we're going to live in the future. I'm a big believer in that as well. So thank you very much for sharing all of your thoughts and everything else. I think in terms of kind of time, we're pretty much there in terms of time and everything that we've mentioned. I don't know if there's anything you ladies would like to share. How can anyone who's listening in today who wants to be part of the Brown Girl League connect with you? How can they connect with you individually? Or any other final kind of comments that you would each like to make? So if we start with you, Tara, maybe you can share how can people get in touch with the Brown Girl League? And
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, so we are at the Brown Girl League on all social media platforms. And, you know, just as we've spoken about today, how are we going to get more ethnic minority women as well in these spaces? It's through supporting and championing schemes, initiatives, communities like the Brown Girl League, just as you have as well, Kelly. So thank you ever so much for giving us this platform today to speak on. And yeah, don't know if Jane or Sonal, you've got anything else that you wanted to add?
Yeah, we're more than happy to have a chat. All three of us are on LinkedIn as well. So if you want to ask any questions, reach out about our individual sort of career stories, helping make decisions. We're all involved in a number of mentoring and volunteering initiatives too. So if there's anything you want to know about, we're more than happy. Just drop us a DM on.
As well, like if there's any room for collaboration or partnerships, feel free to get in touch. We'll be more than happy to sort of partner with different organisations, work with different people, because we're all here to make the corporate world sort of more inclusive and more diverse, and create those platforms for individuals to thrive.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much to the three of you. It's been a really great episode. I've really enjoyed speaking to you all and finding out more about your journeys and your thoughts on the industry, and obviously the Brown Girl League as well. And to all of our listeners that are tuning in to this episode of Elevate Women in Tech, please don't forget to subscribe for more insightful conversations with trailblazers in the tech industry. And yeah, we thank you for joining us today.